What is going on, everybody? Icy Cat here with another walkthrough. This time we're taking a look at the presidential plane. So if you're looking for the best tips and strategies to navigate these tight corridors, you'll want to check this out. Our first position for attacker spawns is going to begin in the main entrance for the plane. If you take the staircase in the front section of the plane, you will end up just outside of the meeting room. And if you come over by this other ladder, this will take you to the front of the cargo hold. Likewise, you can get up on top of the wing if you go underneath the wing and come up from the other side. Or you have a raised platform here. If you come up as Glaz, you will get some pretty good sight lines on the windows. Glaz is the only character that can reliably shoot through these windows from a distance and get the penetration to still do some damage. And these windows are only open on this side of the airplane, on the north side of the plane. If you go to the opposite side of the plane, all the windows on that side are going to be closed off and Glaz will not have any sight lines. Our next attacker spawn is going to put us in the tail section of the plane, and we have a lot of choices over here. This is a secondary position we can come up on top with Glaz, or we can get on top of the wing proper and actually just travel the length of this whole wing by coming up this ladder in this position. This ladder will give us access to the cargo hold from below, and taking these stairs up will put us into the rear press section of the plane. That's press section B. But I want to show you something interesting. If you actually cross underneath the plane, you'll get access to this other entrance, which is a little harder to reach, but can give you some different options when coming into the plane. Coming up the high ladder here is going to give you access to the caterer section. This comes on the other side of the same press section that the other staircase would have brought us up on where we started. But right here against this wall is a ladder. And if you were to take this up, you'll gain access to this hatch on the top of the plane. When you drop down here, you're going to be a little blind coming in, but this gives you access to the entire upper deck right off the bat. Our final attacker spawn position is going to put us in the front service entrance, and our options for boarding the plane are a little bit more limited in this section. If we come up the ladder in front, we can go to the other side of the luggage area. And if we come up this very tall ladder, this is going to put us into the cockpit proper. And if we come all the way over to the far end of the plane on this same side, this will give us access to the caterer entrance to the rear of the press section, as well as gaining access to that area I just showed you that goes to the top of the plane and allows you to drop in on the upper deck. Now let's take a look at our camera positions. The first one is going to be found when you exit the cockpit. It'll be immediately up in the corner. This camera will give you overwatch onto the stairs here, as well as watching the side passage for the upper deck. Our next camera position is going to be located in the front hallway. This is right off the meeting room area, and if you come back into the corner where the pile of furniture is located, up in the ceiling, you're going to find your next camera. This will allow defenders to keep a good eye on the sight lines down the hallway, as well as anybody coming up the stairs or off the side entrance from the pantry area. We'll find our next camera in the press section A. This is often an objective area if you're playing hostage and will be found right up on the ceiling as you come through the door. It is right next to the ladder entrance from the upper deck. This has a pretty good line of sight all the way to the back of the plane if anybody's going to make an entrance through there. Now let's drop down a level. The next camera position will be found in the luggage hold area. This is often an objective room, and you can find the camera up here in the ceiling, kind of hidden amongst the pipes and rafters. This is going to show you a good line of sight down anything coming through that hallway and can pan around the rest of the room. Our final camera position is going to be located in the cargo hold. Coming all the way back toward the rear of the plane, up in the ceiling is where we'll find our next position. This is going to watch the length of the cargo hold on the side and show you anybody that'll come down this hallway from the stairs. There's actually a surprising amount of trapdoors located on the plane, many of which are going to be found on the third floor server room. Breaching the first one in the back is going to allow you to drop down into the staff section. In this case, we have a bomb objective located in this room. And when you come through, this is going to look just like any one of these other ceiling panels here, so it's kind of an easy one to forget about as a defender, but when you drop through as an attacker, you're going to land here. Our next trapdoor is further along in the third floor server room access, and when you pop this one, you're going to be able to drop down right into the exterior executive hallway on the second floor. This will drop you right outside of the executive suite, and put you in the midst of the crossfire of this hallway and this other room on the side, so you have a lot of angles to watch for here. This is a deadly one to drop through, so be careful as an attacker if you're going to use this. Better to stay up top and try to get line of sight firing from above. Our next hatch in the 3rd floor server area is going to be just off to the side of the one we just opened on the other side of this wall. Breaching this one is going to allow us to drop down right in front of this section and get us into the pantry and kitchen areas. Give us fast access if we need to move up to the meeting room areas. Our final trapdoor position on the upper deck is going to be located in the cockpit. Coming all the way forward by the pilot and navigation stations, if you drop through this panel, you're going to find yourself right in this front hallway. This will be located next to the executive office, and you'll also be able to gain access to the meeting room from this position relatively quickly. On the 2nd floor, we'll find our next trapdoor just outside of the executive suite in the changing room. Opening up this door will allow us to drop right into the luggage hold area, which is often an objective room and a hot zone to come in. Further down on the 2nd floor, in the staff section, we can find our next trapdoor. This is going to be just offset of the one we dropped through from the 3rd floor, and this 2nd floor position is going to take us straight down into the storage room, right in between the luggage area and the cargo holds. Our final trapdoor position is going to be just in the rear of the staff section here in the security room. This is the room that connects the next 2 sections. And opening up this is going to allow us to drop straight down into the cargo hold proper for fast access to the rear of that section. When playing bomb defusal for defense, you're going to start in either the meeting room or the executive office for this position. And this is a tough one. It's a little spread out. You can open up a wall here with a nitrous cell and make your egress between rooms a little easier. When you have the A position, you can reinforce this wall and maybe make a hole here and just kind of watch the long shot if you want. This will also give you some overwatch on the door. You do have to be aware of the trapdoor that's here that kind of connects the sections. Coming over by the windows, if you have somebody set up to watch that door, you can kind of let them know when someone's coming up the stairs here. It's hard to be shot from the exterior from this position. I mean, if Glaz is looking at the window, he could hit you, but it's pretty unlikely, and you can at least give a heads up to the person watching the door that they're coming up. You can, usually put some traps here, some, maybe Kapkan laser mines or something like that. And over here, if you want, you can blow a hole in the wall to watch over the top of the stairs. Otherwise, go ahead and reinforce these walls for sure. This wall here is super important to reinforce, and I left this part unreinforced so you could see. This is the back side of the pantry here. You could also make a, small murder hole and then watch them as they come through and sort of drop them that way as well. But if you don't want to risk that, just go ahead and reinforce that wall. The second bomb defusal site is going to be the executive bedroom and the staff section here on the 2nd floor. This is another tough one because you have a lot of areas to worry about as far as long hallways. So let's start with a solid routine here of blocking up the trapdoor above. This is a tough one. If they come down through here, you're going to be pretty vulnerable to anything they do. But most of this area, except for this little strip right here, can't be breached with any cluster charges or anything. This is the only part that can. Over here, you're pretty safe. The servers are going to block the ceiling there. This room is going to be harder to defend against that. Cluster charges can be placed on pretty much any of these sections. So if you're going to be in here at all, I'd recommend maybe covering it from the outside. Or maybe coming into this room and covering it from this way so that you don't get hit with those charges. I am going to recommend putting a lot of the door reinforcements up so that you can kind of choke their points so they can't come through that wall in the next room there. And you're going to cover this one up too, but I left it open just so I could go back and forth. We have this trapdoor to be careful of in the long shot on the hallway. Once this is covered up, maybe with the castle barricade even, you'd be pretty good in here. And again, I'd use caution defending this room. I would defend it from either that room over there or come into the staff section. If you want, you can leave this door completely open and have somebody sit down here in the corner and just watch the long shot for the approach. You have some good long shots. If you have some longer range sights, some optics on your guns, you can make good use of them. This is another important wall to reinforce. And if you want, you can leave it open, make a murder hole, and kind of catch them on the approach as they come from the back of the plane. Otherwise, if you're not going to do that, go ahead and panel up this wall for sure. You can panel up this one if you want, but that's more of an optional wall. I'm also going to recommend putting a barricade here and then just making a second one on this door so that you'll hear them break through that first one and then come through the second one. You'll have a bit of a heads up and you can respond to that. Our third bomb defusal position is going to be in the cargo hold and the luggage area. This is a tricky one to do because they're so spread out. You've really got to run down before you can get to this other position. And there's not a lot you can do in here defense-wise other than block the door. Maybe put a barricade on the trapdoor if you're really worried about that. But one thing that you can do is put either a nitrocell or a gas grenade or something on the bomb itself. And you see how it sort of blends in there. You know, you've got the red blinking lights. The blue cell phone sticks out just a little bit, but you're hearing a beeping on the bomb anyway, so adding the second beeping to it isn't going to do a whole lot extra, and it could be easy to miss. And then what you're going to want to do is sort of hold up more and defend the other bomb position, and then when you hear the diffuser has been activated, just go ahead and trigger that and take anybody out. If you want to, you can open up a hole in the wall back here and sort of keep an eye on it that way. You can get somebody dropping down the trapdoor. Otherwise, go ahead and reinforce those if you need to. In the main room, you're going to want to watch. You've got this trapdoor up here. I'd really recommend sending somebody up to reinforce that. And you're going to want to set up on this back wall and have a reinforcement panel here, probably on this wall too. This wall you can reinforce, or you can make a little murder hole here to catch them. This is actually the exterior door they can come through, or you can wait till they get a little deeper and get them as they come through that doorway. Make use of your cover. There's a lot of half-point cover, waist-high cover, rather, in this room. So you can get behind these and be fairly protected. Same with this position over here. If you come on this side and look this other way, you get sort of... There we go. This is the same kind of cover going on. This gives you some good cover as well. So, you know, at least in this room, you've got lots of good cover points, whereas in the other area back in the cargo hold, you really don't. You can lean out from some things, but that's about all you've got unless you get behind some of these, but that's pretty weak cover. So I'd recommend holding up in one position and then just trapping this other one. The defensive positions for hostage and secure area are going to be pretty similar to what you've seen in the bomb spawns. The only one that's different is one of the positions for hostage is going to be the press section A. So this is a very confined space. You do have a little bit of ceiling access here for partial breaches or cluster charges, but if they throw a cluster charge in here, I mean, it's pretty much over for the hostage. So you only have to worry mostly about the breaching charges themselves. So these walls, you're going to want to reinforce for sure. And, you know, maybe doing something like putting some electrified barbed wire down with a blockade in front of it would be good. You can leave these walls unreinforced if you wish. And then I'll come over to the other side and demonstrate. And you can have a murder hole made over this section, providing overwatch if you'd like to do that. Back here, I would recommend, just like the other way when we were on the other side, having the double reinforced panel. So doing this one and then a second one, you'll essentially hear them break through that first one, and then that will give you a clue that they're coming there. On the other side of this panel is where you have your ladder, so I would recommend keeping this barricaded up as well. Maybe a nice Kapkan laser there, or a castle barricade, something like that. Do watch out for these windows. Glass can make your life a nightmare on these windows here. And one thing you can do if you're really worried about that is you can come on the other side of the hostage here, so that he has to shoot across the hostage to engage you, and at least maybe risk the team kill for the hostage. This wall is another good one to reinforce, and this back wall here, if you don't reinforce this, they can put a breaching charge on this and come right in. So because this room is also so confined, I would recommend only having perhaps 2 defenders in here and having your other 3 roam, maybe 1 or 2 on that side, and then the other 1 or 2 on this side, sort of looking for the enemies. Maybe even like one on the front of toward the front, the other toward the rear, and then another roaming the top deck. This room is so confined, you don't want to be clustered up in here. Overall, though, the tactics that you applied for bomb defusal will work for the other positions for secure area and hostage rescue. You just will tighten them down to 1 room instead of being spread across 2 rooms. Now let's take a look at our general walkthrough. We're going to begin here in the cockpit of the plane. And this is where you'll find our first trapdoor up here. Coming through the rear section, you will find the landing where we have the choice between the stairs that go down a level or the side area for the server room access. You also have your camera up here. So let's go ahead and check out the server room. You have the 3 trapdoors here, as we were talking about before. This white wall in particular can be breached, and when you do so, this will allow you to keep an eye on the stairs, anybody coming up here, or getting the long shot on the entrance back there. If you come a little further along, you'll see another white wall right here. Once again, this can be opened up and you can get a line of sight through the back of the plane, or coming around the wall. If you'd rather, you can watch in the other direction. Keep an eye on that. Any of these black tiles on the floor are going to be at least partially breachable, so you could come through here and set a breaching charge down on any of these, and then when you blow that, you'll have access to whatever is underneath you and get some lines on some people. Wherever these black tiles are, you can do that with. We also have a couple of ladders here. That's the mid ladder, and then we have the rear ladder back here by the tail section. This is where you would drop through from the ceiling hatch, as we showed before. And let's just go ahead and start with this first ladder here. This will bring us down into the press section. You can come through either of these doors here. We have the catwalk over there. We have the stairs coming up on this one. And this is sort of the galley section. When you come in, you can go straight through or down to the cargo luggage hold. Let's go straight for this part. So this is the ladder that we dropped down from before. In this room, we have the press bathroom. These are all breachable walls and can be another way to gain access to this room through here if they have these doors trapped or anything like that. These are also good walls to breach and take some guys out that might be standing in between the rows of seats. All of these rows of seats are really good for hiding somebody. They can get down low and just sort of wait for you to pass, and because there's so much geometry here with the way that the models are laid out, they're pretty easy to blend into. And you can get some pretty good lines of sight, depending on which way you want to take some of these. The walls here are the breachable walls, so this is where I was talking about when you had the black tiles on the other side. You can see straight up through into there, so cluster charges could be placed here. We come through, we've got, this is the second ladder. When we came through going the other way, it was the first one we ran into. And we have this connecting room here. This trapdoor will drop down into the cargo hold, as we were talking about before. And this wall, if you open it up, has a good line of sight either way.
Bomb has been located.
The staff section is often an objective area. You do need to be careful of the overhead bins. If you set up, any of these walls can be breached, especially this one being the trapdoor. But you can see this is where we breached the ceiling from before. If you breach, though, right where any of these are, you're not going to be able to get a line through there. Reason being is you're actually going to be in this compartment. And until this door is blown off, you won't see down any further. So if you put a cluster charge in there, your first couple of charges will blow up inside of that before the remaining 1 or 2 fall down. So coming through here, we've got this long hallway. This is one you're going to want to be careful of. And this will open into the executive bedroom area. Through the executive bedroom, we have the other trapdoor we were talking about before. Remember also that all the windows on the south side of the plane are going to be closed. All the windows on the north side of the plane are open and leave you vulnerable to Glaz. He can sit out there on that wing and shoot into the windows all day long, so be careful of that. Here we have the laundry room, and if you open up this wall here, you're going to get a really good line of sight. Depending what you want to do, let's come to the other side here. As an attacker, this allows you to get a really good line on this door in the executive bedroom without worrying about being flanked from your sides too much, especially if you have somebody maybe also sitting back here and watching it just in case you don't get crept up on from anybody in this hallway. It's a good line of sight there, as is this one into the back. Through here, we've got the kitchen area. This wall is not breachable. You cannot breach through this wall. Where you can breach through, though, is if you come all the way down. So none of these walls are breachable. But if you come all the way down here, this wooden wall is. And on the other side of this wooden wall is where you'll find your meeting room. This is often an objective area as well. Any of these wood-paneled walls can be breached. Let's come over to the other side here and take a look and see what that's like. Here's where we've got the end of the hallway here, and any of these walls can be breached as well. So we've got the stairs that come up from below. And you can take out any of these walls to get a line on that. In the meeting room here, you can also take out this wall if you want to try to get people as they come up the stairway there. This entire section can be opened up, and this will come through into the executive office area, which is sometimes an objective. This whole wooden wall here can be breached, but nothing through the ceiling or floor in this room can be breached, so it's a pretty tight room except for this one wall, when you do need to be wary of that trapdoor as well, like we talked about before. This is the back section here. Sometimes they'll come up these stairs and sort of approach from that side. Let's go ahead and check out the lower area now. So if we come down here, this puts us into the front entrance for the cargo area. Here's where we have sort of these side platforms on either side. If you come through these, this is where you'll end up. And you'll often have an objective in the luggage hold proper right here. So oftentimes there'll be a secure area or a bomb or something in this room. And we've got lots of little areas where we can hide drones or things like that up on the shelves here. All of these walls can be breached. Any of these white walls can be breached. The ceiling is partially breachable, especially where the trapdoor is there. This white wall back here is also able to be breached, and this opens up into the storage room, which also has a wall in back that can be breached, which then overlooks the cargo area. These ceilings here can also have charges placed on them, so you'll want to be careful of that, as well as the trapdoor here. You can get some partial openings through some of these sections if you're up above. Just depends on where you place them. Let's go back for a minute, though, and show you something here that's kind of easy to miss. If you come through here, you have this nondescript wall. It doesn't look like any of the other walls, but you can breach it, and this gives us access to this little technical hallway. And it's sealed off, but if you come through and open it one more time, let's use an actual charge. What you can then do is come back here and have somebody with a good sight line, you know, maybe they have an ACOG or something, and looking through here and blow that charge, and it's going to look right into that room all the way back. You can actually see straight back into the cargo hold through there. And if you've got that long sight line, you've now closed off this section of the room. Likewise, if you've got somebody watching this side, now you've closed off the left and the right, and you really only have the middle that's sort of open. And you can even open that wide up by coming through this wall, and now there's really hardly anything they can hide behind except for maybe getting prone behind a few crates. As I said before, this wall is also breachable, and if we come through here, this connects us again into that hallway we were just in. So you actually have 1, 2, 3 different angles that you can either get in or out on this particular hallway. It's a very useful little side room to use if you didn't know about it. Let's come back down this hallway here. So none of these walls can be breached. None of these walls can be breached. These are all solid, as is this wall back here. All solid walls. Only these white walls can be breached. You really can't get through any of the ceiling tiles up here, although there is a trapdoor back in this section. We do have the camera up here, as well as our entrance to the exterior over there. And then these stairs lead us back up to the rear of the plane where we were before, and rounds us back up to the press area. And just as a reminder, any of these wooden walls can be breached as well if you'd like to do that. Okay, so now let's take a look at our drones. So some spots that you can go that are really good, you know, get into weird positions like this. Try to get onto like a shelf or something so you can see higher up. They're not going to be expecting you to be in these kinds of positions. You know, go ahead and get onto some things like this. And then when you're here, they're not going to be aware that you're there. You know, just weird little spots all over the place. Try to blend in with your surroundings. Coming in underneath things, super, super useful. Wherever you leave your drone is where it's going to be when you die or when other attackers try to use your camera network. Use that to your advantage. But as long as you can get them into positions where they're not going to be expected, you're going to be able to make some use of these things. Now let's take a real quick look at some places that you can use Fuse's cluster charges quite effectively. The level designers for Rainbow Six Siege have always done a really good job of making sure that most of the levels kind of break a rule that other levels don't do, but this map also has no drone vents that can be used, So there's no positions for a drone to roll through that aren't already opened up. And furthermore, you have very few breakable floors or ceilings in here, other than the ones that are directly above the top server room access. You can get in a few, but almost none of the floors on the second floor, with a couple of exceptions, can be broken through. So that's been our walkthrough for the presidential plane. We have a few maps still to choose from. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you'd like to see. We still need to do one for Oregon, Hereford Base, Consulate, Chalet, and the Russian Cafe. So from those choices, sound off down below. Let me know what you'd like to see for next week's map walkthrough. Pretty soon we're going to be covering the new Black Ice operators and maps as they come out, and more information will be made available. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to make sure you stay up to date on all the latest tips and tricks. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.